Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
How you doing today?
I'm feeling quite silly. I don't know why. I mean, as you know, before we started recording this, I'm over here dancing, going crazy. I'm in a
Seriously,
fantastic mood. I love it.
seriously. So, what are we talking about today?
I think we briefly talked about like budgeting and whatnot. I think today we're going to be able to dive into some of what your budget sheet looks like, what that actually looks like, actually keeping your finances together. And then maybe we can talk a little bit about debt, a little bit about some interest rates, things like that. And, kind of just role play as we go or improvise, if you will. So I'll kick it over to you and get us started.
All right, sounds good. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen real quick on the sh budget sheet that we both use. I was introduced on this budget sheet from my coach back in 2021. I had mentioned on my other on the other video, but very straightforward here. We got July budget 2025. We got income. For example, you could put down your job 9 to 5, maybe a side income, maybe a side job or business or anything like that. If you get bonuses as well, you can kind of estimate what you think you'll receive just to start to like jot things down. And ultimately, it adds everything up here at the very end. So let's just, for example, let's just put that you're making $1,000 just to keep the number simple, $1,000 a week. At the very end, you're going to see your total here on under real, $4,000, of course. And then, you can go ahead and put the dates just to keep track exactly when you get paid, if it's every Friday or if it's every Monday, whatever the case is. So down below, you're going to have the description with everything that you'll usually spend on within the month. Of course, rent, your bills, gas, internet, car payment, car insurance, cell phone, eating out, your groceries, and then your subscriptions if you have any. But what I'll do is I'll go ahead and just put down some numbers here, and then we'll see how it works real quick. Gas is 200, cell phones put like 80. Let's say your credit card is 500. Car payment, say it's about 350, and then your haircut, I don't know, $100. So pretty much here at the very bottom, what it does is your total income is going to be the 4,000, right? And that'll actually automatically subtract your total expenses. So it'll be this number right here, 2,430, which is everything that we added right here in this column. And at the very end of the day, you're going to have all of your cash flow pretty much. This is all the money that you're going to have left over after you get all of your expenses paid. And I previously had mentioned how this is the fun part, right? Once you start to see that extra income coming in, then you're able to, tackle down your debt, your student loans, whatever debt you owe, as well as invest, right? If you want to, add another column in here and put invest, normally what I do, and whatever the amount is, of course you can take that into account, but I think being able to find the wiggle room between your income and expenses and maximizing the cash flow that you have left at the end of the day can go such a long way, into investments or into investing in yourself, whether that's a class, whether that's anything along those lines. So, um, right over here, this is going to be your net worth column. This is my favorite column. So pretty much what you'll do is you'll list anything that provides value or an asset. For example, it could be your investment account, it could be your I mean your car, depending on the value, can be considered an asset depending on the value of it. Of course, long term it is a liability because you got to pay gas, you got to pay all these expenses, right? Nonetheless, the value of the car, you can still write it down. But ultimately, at the end of the day, let's just say your car's, worth $10,000. Let's say you have an account, also $10,000. Let's say you have, I don't know, Pokemon cards, $500, right? So ultimately, what it will do is it'll add all your total here, so you know exactly what each, maybe car, investments, and then Pokemon. Very neat. It's very straightforward as well. But you'll list the item, you'll put the total amount, and then at the very bottom, it'll add pretty much what what that comes out to be. And then again, real quick, net worth is assets minus liability, right? So of course, on the next column, if you do have debt, for example, let's say you have I don't know, $5,000 um, credit card. Ultimately, the red is what you owe, the green is what you have, right? So it'll be this number minus this number, which will be the total, which that comes out to be what is that, Adrian? 15.5.
Yeah.
You can kind of play with the numbers, depending on how much, if you pay down 1,000 on your credit card, whatever the case is. But I think writing stuff down is very crucial when it comes to your numbers, your budget, your income, what's coming in, what's coming out. But yeah, Adrian, if you want to add anything, I don't know if you use this sheet differently or if there's anything I may have missed.
Yeah, no, I use a little differently, but like the objective of it is pretty much the same. It's to bring awareness to your finances so you can understand where your dollars are going so that eventually you can increase your income and decrease your expenses. And you can't do that if you're not tracking your finances. So pretty much the idea is the same. If you're done here, I can jump into the next segment. I know it's pretty kind of self-explanatory. There's not too much to really dive deep into here, but as far as, increasing your income and decreasing your expenses, well, you want to do that so then you have more money left over to, like Adan said, invest, but also to do other things where you can use your own power rather than having to borrow somebody else's. And that comes into that topic of debt, right? People love to um, do credit cards and there's just so much debt, right? So the two most popular forms of debt is the credit cards, student loans, and mortgages. That's pretty much where most of the debt comes from. So I'm gonna go ahead and share two of them here. And let me see if I can do this. I'm gonna share two examples. Let me see. Give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. Beautiful. So just to start off, here is the average credit card debt or interest rate. Sorry. This is the average interest rate for the credit cards in the US, which is about 21%, which is actually insane. So if those of you that do not know, in order for you to have credit cards, you're pretty much borrowing money and if you're paying it off every single month, well, they're charging you an interest rate, which is the percentage that you have to pay the banks for letting you borrow the money that you're borrowing. So if you're going to borrow, let's say the example that Alan had as a debt is $5,000. Well, now you have to pay 21% of that $5,000. And it's crazy to see because people don't realize what it actually looks like when you actually put it into, a calculator or actually just analyze what that looks like. So if you had a credit card balance of $5,000 and you're paying $200 a month and your interest rate was 21%, well, that means at the end of that time frame, which will take you 2 years and 10 months to pay off the $5,000 balance, not only are you going to pay them back the $5,000 that you initially borrowed, but you're now going to pay on top of that 25% interest in 1,632. The reason why it's 25% and it's more than 21% is because it's not like you just get a 21% fixed rate. It's as long as it takes you to pay, that interest rate continues to happen. Right. So it's not like, oh, it's 21% of this. That's my flat rate. I can take as long as I want to pay it off. And that's how much I'm going to have to pay. No, depending on how long it takes you is dependent upon how much interest you're actually going to be paying. So that's a little bit about the credit card side. But again, I encourage you, kind of like Alan said, to play around with these things, right? Be able to, understand what that kind of looks like in the long run. My favorite topic of this is the mortgage, because this is absolutely insane. Like it's so normalized. I think Alan talked about it previously. It's so normalized to encourage people to go out fast and buy their homes, right? Oh, get your house, get a mortgage, FHA loan. You only got to put 3.5% down. They make it sound all sweet and dandy, but the reality is the interest rate's going to shock you. So Adan hasn't seen this. I wanted to get his live reaction, so you're going to get it at the same time with him. So let's say I'm going to start from the left, okay? Adan, how much do you want your home price to be?
Just put 400,000.
$400,000. That's a very nice house, Adan. I'm very proud of you for buying a house, $400,000. What down payment would you like to put on that $400,000 house?
Let's go ahead and put in what I would say the most common is probably an FHA if you're approved, of course.
Okay.
But
So
yeah,
for those
I'd
that
go to
don't
the
know,
FHA.
FHA is a first-time home buyers loan. So for anybody that gets their first home, they get the FHA loan, which means you can get a loan off with 3.5% down. And that's all you need to get the loan. So 3.5% of that would be 12.5 if I'm not mistaken. 12.5, about 3%. Okay, perfect. Let's do 13,000 to make it nice and even number. Um, oh, let's do 14. There it goes. Beautiful. So let's say typically it's about a 30-year loan. That's pretty much what it is. And the average interest rate right now is about 6.4%. And that's being pretty moderate, right? I mean, if you had a bad credit, it's going to be a lot higher than that. But what zip code do you want to use? You want to use Jacksonville's or Fellsmere or Vero or
I don't put you could put 32206.
beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna update this. So this is what this kind of looks like. Okay, so for your oh sorry, let me move this here. For your monthly payment breakdown, you're gonna be paying $2,700 a month, right? That's pretty standard. People think, okay, that's what it is, right? So principals and interest is gonna be $2,418, 2418. Your property tax is going to be 263 and your homeowner's insurance is going to be 66. Everything seems pretty standard. But this is when it gets really, really scary. Okay, we're going to scroll down here. Um, let me go to amortization. Okay, so your loan amount, if you put $14,000 down, you're going to borrow $386,000. The interest that you would be paying on that money in the span of 30 years is going to be $484,000. So
Wow.
in reality, the amount of money that you paid for this $400,000 home turns out to be $870,000. Now, why? How does this make any sense? Well, this is where it goes into real, like it's very, very crazy how people don't know this. These are the payments that you're going to be making every single year. So let's go into depth really quickly to 2025. Let's say you start paying next month, August. Well, your first payment is going to be about $2,400. $2,064 of that $2,400 payment is going to go to the interest. It's going right to the banks because the banks are not dumb. They want their money now. They're going to
Fast.
get their money first. So if you have a debt of $384,000 for this home that you have, and you think you're making $2,400 payments a month, and you think, okay, $2,400 is, being deducted from the amount that I owe to for my house. That is not the case. $354 of those $2,400 is the actual amount that's going to be going off to paying off that house. So as you realize in the beginning, all of this is going to the bank and this is going to the principals. Well, let's come down here when you're done paying the house. Well, look at this. How ironic. The last payment, $2,400 of your money is going to go to the house, and then $12 is going to go to interest. What would you look at that? At the end of your loan period, all of the money then goes to the principal, and then the leftover goes to the interest. Isn't that really crazy to think that in the beginning, all of your money is pretty much going to the banks?
It's
Like, what do you
absolutely
think about
insane.
that, bro?
It's absolutely insane.
It's crazy because people don't realize that mortgage means more being death, engaged being like promise. Like you're promised pretty much like a promise grip, death grip. Like this is you, what you have. And people just go blindly and create this, home loan. Oh, because this is normal. Get your house. Oh, I only have to put $12,000. How many do you have to put? How much do you have to put down? I don't want to guess. You have to put $14,000 down and you can get a $400,000 house. Oh, that's fine. I could do that and I get my own house. Oh my God, it's amazing. No, like look at what this is. Like this is actually crazy. And the reality is like if you learn to manage your finances, if you learn to grow your investments, if you learn to grow and understand how to manage your money properly, well then hopefully you don't even have to get a loan. Hopefully you can cover the home all by yourself without having to borrow from somebody else. Because I don't know about you, but this is absolutely insane. Um, and just to talk a little bit, this is like me going off a tangent. Let me go on Ramsey calculator because I know that we used to love to do this all the time. This the investment calculator. So for those of you that don't know what investments are, the S&P 500 is the pretty much the top 500 companies in a group. And then when you invest into the S&P 500, you're pretty much investing into those 500 companies to succeed. So let's say your current age, let's put my age, 23. Let's say I plan to retire at 65, which that is not happening. I'm retiring a lot sooner, but just for the example, this is what's going on here. How much money do you currently have in investment? Let's say I have $0 in investments. How much will you contribute monthly? Let's say if someone wants to contribute $500 a month, and what do you think your annual return will be? Right here, it says this is the return your investment will generate over time. Historically, the 30-year return of the S&P 500 is roughly 10 to 12%. So let's be conservative and do 8%. We're going to calculate this. By the time I'm 65, if I invest $500 every single month, my entire retirement savings will be $2,260,000. And $252,000 will come from my pocket, and the growth that I will get from a return will be $1.8 million. This is, ladies and gentlemen, what you call compound interest, right? It's like you are capitalizing on the money that you have. And think about it, $500 is not that hard. People make five to $1,000 worth of payment for a car every single month, and this car is going down in value. If you can understand your finances, if you can get a hold of your finances, well, then eventually you can pay off your car cash, and you don't have to pay a monthly payment for your car. And that monthly payment can actually go to your investments, where you can create a cushion for yourself to be okay when you retire, and you don't have to depend on anybody else. Because I can promise you this: when we're 65, I would not bet any dollars that the Social Security is still going to be there to protect me and take care of me, because the way this economy is going, it's pretty scary. So that's pretty much all I wanted to share on. But what do you think about that?
If you want to go back, we could just leave that screen on.
Sure thing.
Um, but pretty much I just wanted to touch base on this screen right here. So as my brother mentioned, you contribute $500 a month instead of contributing to things, like buying a car or paying, buying unnecessary things. I think it's very important to maximize the amount that you can put away. That's where I can't stress enough how important it is, being able to find that cushion, being able to find that those extra dollars to be able to put away for that growth, for that, compound interest. And I think I hear it a lot where a lot of people will say that things are very expensive and it's a bit difficult out there. And although I do agree with some things, I just feel like the problem is always going to be with your actions, with what you're doing, right? You can't ever blame, like you've said, you can't become a victim for everything. I think you have to look at go back to that sheet, go back to the budget sheet, and really focus on what's coming in, what's coming out, sticking to it, and investing and putting away as much as you can. I think by doing so, you're able to then buy that home and, put a larger down payment if you need to, or even the full amount over that long period of time. And it just does not happen when you're, recklessly just spending on things that don't matter in the short, in the long term. And I think the way you put it is very, very important. I'm glad you showed all three examples as far as the mortgage, the credit card, and ultimately those are two different things that take you the, the credit card and the mortgage are things that take you away from your ultimate goal, which is putting money away, letting it compound, and your future self will thank you. I think it's very important. I mean, one of the most powerful things that you have here on this page is you have the time. Um, I think the best time to start, it, yeah, you could say, for example, in my situation, I'm 25. I could say, oh, best time I could start was 18, or best time I could start was last year, or because the market is up right now, right? But I think the most important part of it all is starting now, no matter what age you are. We have our mom, mi madrina. I know Mario and Joseph. I think we set up their account. DAO we set up like I think it's now. It's starting now, starting early, starting as soon as you can because this right here, although I mean this you could consider this pretty accurate considering you put an 8%. If you scroll down, you put an 8% annual return, and that's like the minimum. That's like bare minimum. And this is without taking into account of course, inflation, things like that. But this is like the base. This is the base minimum. And to see this amount of growth over the long term, it's very, very powerful. So
Yeah. There's a couple things that I wanted to tap into based on what you said. The importance of starting now, right? Let's say you would have started when you were 18 years old. That is a difference of 5 years. We're at $2,060,000 if you started at 23. If you started at 18, just 5 years earlier, you would have had over $1 million
that's crazy.
extra. And
I
the
mean,
reason
back
why is because of the compound interest. You're allowing it to grow. So the more time in the market, the more compound can be created. Now, let's say that same person is doing this exact plan, but gets started at 40,000 or 40,000, get started at 40 years old. Well, now
yeah,
look, $475,000, right? So you don't like the time in the market will create compound and it'll be more beneficial for you in the long run the earlier you get started because compound will eventually take place. Because it's not like 8% is from $500 forever, because 8% of $500 is $40, right? It's not like every month you get an extra $40. No, because if you put 500 in and you get 8%, well, now your account is at $540. So now next month, 8% of your account is $540, 8%. It's not just 500 still. So 8% of $540, if I'm doing it on the top of my head, I would say that's 40. I don't even want to guess, but it's more than 40. Okay. And then that is going to add to the balance, and then 8% of the new balance, and then 8% of the new balance. And then eventually, as you can see here, excuse me, 2042, you'll have 215. 8% of that is
it's higher and
240.
higher.
8% of that is 260. 8% of that, and so on and so forth. Eventually, when you get to this, 8% of 433,000 is a lot more than 8% of $500. So
Mhm.
that's that. The second point that I wanted to make was this is not a guarantee. Although this is very probable, this is not a guarantee. The only guarantee that I can make you for sure is if you don't do something with your money, if you don't invest, you will lose the amount of power that you have and you will not be able to survive when you retire. So even though this is risky, it's even more riskier to not invest into something. Whether that's yourself to increase your income to the point where you don't even need to retire because you make so much money from your job, your trade, your skill, whatever it is, you have to invest into something, or eventually it's going to come back because inflation is catching up to you. So I just wanted to say that because God forbid the year that you retire, there's a market crash, right? I'm not saying this to scare you, but this is real talk. I'm going to call a spade what a spade is a spade, right? And that's what it is. If something, God forbid, happened, this is not guaranteed. That's the market. But the thing that I'm trying to encourage you to do is understand what you want to do because you need to find a plan. You need to do something because in this world, the inflation, everything the way the world's going, you cannot save yourself to retirement. You can't save all the money that you're having expecting it to be just as valuable when you retire. It's the example I gave before. If my grandfather saved $100,000 back in his time, he left it for me today, that money wouldn't do exactly what it could have done then. Might as well, might as well would have should have spent it because it did done more for him than it would have done for me. So you got to figure something out. There's no saving. Robert Kiyosaki says it. Saving is for losers. And I'm sorry if that offends you, but that's just the reality. You need to learn what to do with your money and figure things out so you can set yourself up for the future. And again, $500 a month is nothing. If you have trouble, if you think that's a lot of money, most people on average are making anywhere from $3,000 to $3,000, and that's on the low end every single month. $500 is about 20% of your income. If you don't have 20% of your income left, you need to increase your income and decrease your expenses. You don't have the luxury. I'm talking rice and chicken, chicken and rice every single day until you get your money up. And I'm not saying that in a cocky way because that was me. I did that. I'm doing that. It's rice and chicken, chicken and rice for dinner. And I'm telling you, eventually your future self, your future family will thank you.
You are actually speaking facts. Like you, I mean, bro, you know, where you lived at, you decrease your expenses, you know, it's you're speaking it, you're living it, bro. So definitely big respects to you. One thing I do want to add is every single person I've ever spoke to that is 50 plus that I speak to about investments, you can remove this, bro.
Mhm.
Every single person I have ever spoke to about investments, 50 plus, one thing they always say is, I wish I would have started when I was 18 or when I was early 20s or when I was young. And I feel like the way we speak about this, it's like us telling everybody to buy Bitcoin at like cheap prices. You know, it's powerful in a way where time is going to pass and you want to take advantage of investing as much as you can into the S&P 500, as you mentioned. It's one of those things that we just can't stress it enough how important it is. Um, Budget, put money to the side so you can enjoy. When you assign money to enjoy, you don't feel guilty about spending that money. It's very, the budgeting, you know, it sounds simple, just numbers and this and that, but you have to be intentional with your money if you want your money to compound, if you want to make the best out of your money.
Yeah. And 2 points, and I think we can wrap it up unless you have any closing thoughts. Um, I'm never going to tell somebody what to invest into or what to do. This is just to open up your eyes to realize we have to do something. Like our generation, even the generation before me, there's so many people that I've seen, the elderly that are struggling financially from the moment they retire to the moment they die. I'm sorry if that sounds harsh, but that's the way life is, and that's scary. So understand that you need to create something for yourself. So if this isn't the stock market, if it's not something, invest into you to make more money so that you have enough put aside for when that time comes. So figure something out. This is just to open up your eyes. This is not financial advice. This is just to give you perspective to learn how to actually create power behind your finances. Because that leads me to my second point. It's a perfect segue. Is if you are financially literate at this point, you will be financially literate when you have more money. What I mean by that is it doesn't matter how much money excuse me. If you make $1 million a year, or if you make $100,000 a year, or if you make $10,000 a year, if you do not have financial literacy at any of these levels, it doesn't matter how much you have. If you make $1 million a year, but you spend $1 million a year, you're broke, my friend. You're not a rich person. Financial literacy is where the true wealth is created. Wealth is not measured by money, it's measured by time. How much, if you stopped working right now, how many years could you live without working based on the finance you have? That is the definition of wealth. It's not money, it is time. How much time can you live without working? So create a plan for yourself. That way you know how to manage money. So when God blesses you with higher zeros in your bank account, you know how to handle that to set up not only yourself, but the future generation to come behind you.
This man's cooking. I love that you said that. I love that you said that. If you can't manage $1,000, you cannot manage 10,000, 50,000, 100,000, a million. You can't. It starts from the bottom. It's being able to manage $5, $10, $15. it goes such a long way. And it's the principles behind it, behind what you do that really builds that wealth in the long term. You put it very well put, bro. You put it very well. That's really, really good.
Thank you, bro. I just hope this someone can find value out of it and actually realize that there's so much more importance to finances. And for any of those that say that money is not everything, well, you're trading your entire life for it. If it wasn't everything, you wouldn't give 40 years of your life going to your job, 8 hours a day, every single day, waking up Monday through Friday, going through traffic, smelling the exhaust of the vehicle in front of you every single freaking morning. So I'm sorry that offended you, but the reality is everybody's working for money. So if you say money's not everything, it's not everything. It really isn't. But it does make life easier and it'll give you so much freedom and time to spend with the things that truly matter, with your family, with everything else. So I hope that, helps anybody create new perspective and allows you to, branch out and to figure things out for yourself. So any closing thoughts on?
I think we wrapped up pretty much everything. Budgeting, the credit cards, the mortgage, the compound interest, one of the most important things. Again, start now. We'll go ahead and drop the link to this budget sheet, and then we'll more than likely be sharing more videos in the future on how to get started on an investment account, things like that. And if anybody ever has any questions, feel free to reach out. We do not know everything, but the little that we know, we've learned from people who we aspire to be like. And yeah,
That's beautifully said. Well, have a good rest of your night, bro.
have a great night, bro.
Yes, sir.